So, hi, Casey. Thank you for being with me today. I'm very excited to have you on because I've been following you on Instagram forever. I'm really excited to talk about all things celiac, gluten-free, tummy troubles, all the fun stuff. So, I'll give you a chance to introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi, everyone. My name is Casey Cromwell, or College Celiac Casey, as I'm known online. I was diagnosed with celiac disease almost 13 years ago now, right before I started college. And college is done, but celiac is forever. So I share anything and everything related to gluten-free, celiac, and just all of the hacks that try to make our celiac life as fun and yummy as possible on all of my pages.
Which is how I found you all those years ago,
It worked.
talking about gluten-free stuff. I'm like, "Nobody is like, what do I do? Where's the fun stuff?" And I can't tell you how many either posts or stories of yours that I sent to my husband that I'm like, "We need to go get this weekend." Like, "See, I told you it was coming." Your work is very, very much appreciated for the
I'm so
community.
glad to hear.
Now, if you don't mind sharing, what was some of your diagnosis story like? Because I know that you had a pretty rough go of it in the beginning of, maybe not knowing what this is, and you've had some experience with tube feeds as well, which a lot of our community, for different reasons, do end up on tube feeds too, with lots of intolerances.
Yes, unfortunately. So my celiac journey was a little bit of an interesting one. I basically just started having some random weight loss and some acid reflux, and I was 17 at the time. I was busy with my senior year of high school, so I wasn't really worried about it. But my mom was the one who's like, "You need to go to the doctor. We need to get this checked out." And thankfully, my doctor was extremely anal and just ran tests for everything, including celiac. So the same week as my senior prom, I just get this phone call from my doctor going, "We figured out what you have. You have celiac, so you need to get an endoscopy next." And I'm like, "What is celiac? What is gluten? I've never heard
What
of
is an
any of this."
endoscopy? Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So thankfully, I was able to get my endoscopy done pretty quickly. All of that went really smooth. I was officially diagnosed with celiac, but unfortunately, my system was just too badly damaged from all of the gluten I'd been eating pre-diagnosis to where I just continued to lose weight, continued to have a lot of stomach problems, a lot of stomach pain, a lot of food fear as well, which I know is something a lot of people in our community deal with. And that eventually led to my doctor putting me on a liquid diet to see if that would help. And I tried that for like a week or two and it just kept going downhill. So my freshman year of college, I was hospitalized and given a feeding tube and an IV since I was just really malnourished and vitamin deficient at that point. And they were basically like, "Well, we don't know why you're not responding to a gluten-free diet, and the feeding tube is basically your last option, so we're just gonna hope that that works." And to anyone who's ever gotten a feeding tube, just know I'm sending so many good vibes your way because I would not wish that on anyone. For me, it was just very painful with, like, headaches and stuff from the introduction through my nose and all of
Yeah.
that good stuff. And of course, my doctors were like, "Well, we don't know how long you'll need it. So now you're going to be the feeding tube girl on college campus." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Great. Just what I wanted
Mhm.
to upgrade my reputation with." But thankfully, after a couple weeks of using that feeding tube, it seemed like my system was finally calming down. I was finally able to eat full meals without any pain, and my doctor gave me the go ahead to take it out and wish myself luck, hope that it worked.
Yeah.
And thankfully, since then, I've been able to eat gluten free, mostly without issues. I do have permanent complications, including GERD and IBS, which unfortunately is more common, especially if you aren't diagnosed with celiac very quickly,
Yeah.
just from the damage done to your body. But overall, I feel extremely fortunate to have made it so far in my 13 years from where I started. And
Yeah.
in some ways, I'm kind of grateful that I had such a horrible first reaction to gluten because it really reduced any desire to ever want to cheat. Because I'm like,
Yeah.
it already almost killed me once. I'm not going to play the cards on this one.
Yeah, I can't imagine what that's like because I know I had mentioned to you before that I would say like 95% gluten-free since 2013. And there are some things like I don't have celiac. I've been tested many times, but I
Mhm.
do get the, like, autoimmune-like reactions to gluten in my system. Really, right now, the only thing that I cheat with is my own sourdough. Other than that, I really
Yeah.
or my sister-in-law's, like, I really don't do that with anything else, and that fermentation period for me is usually I know just how long to ferment my bread to where it won't be a problem, but someone else is like, "Oh, I made sourdough." I'm like, "Did you, though?" Like, I'm not so
Yeah.
sure I would wanna try it, but I know, like, I if I really want to, like, whether or not it'll cause a gastroparesis flare or just hurt my stomach, if I cheat, I'm like, I did it to myself. But I can't imagine what that feels like for you because people don't understand that a little bit of gluten, like 1 part per million of gluten, is going to and can still cause damage for you. So having that, like, oh, just cheat, it won't hurt you. It's like, actually, that really would hurt me. So
Yeah.
when people don't understand that and they're like, "Just try it," because our community gets that too, like, "Oh, just try it,
Yeah.
it's just a bite," and we're like, "No," because we have people that have celiac and gastroparesis, IBS and gastroparesis, who
Mhm.
knows what, and gastroparesis, and it's like, sometimes that bite or, "It'll make grandma happy." Screw grandma,
Yeah.
like, I'm not taking the bite. Sorry, grandma, but,
Exactly.
like, no,
Yeah.
we're not doing it. That's gotta be hard.
Exactly.
Hopefully, you don't come into contact with too much of that anymore.
Thankfully, at this point, I just live with my partner and honestly just see my close friends and my family for the most part. So it's a lot easier than when I was in college and you're every
Yeah.
single, Friday is a pizza party. Every single night is a burrito run at midnight. Like
Yeah.
that was definitely a lot harder. And I think also like in 2013 when I was diagnosed, there was just so much less awareness of how
Oh,
the
yeah.
gluten-free diet can have a medical need. Because 2013 was kind of like the height of the fad diet, so I think that also made it harder just because people were like, "Well, everyone's gluten-free now," and it's like, "I am too, but I really need it, okay."
Yeah. It was interesting because that was right around the same time that I went gluten-free. It was like everybody was doing it, so then all of a sudden there's more options where it went from, like,
Mhm.
1 box of pasta and 1 loaf of bread to 4 or 5, and I got different shaped pasta now, it
Yeah.
all still fell apart, but we get different shapes now, and I was really happy because I felt like I had all these options. But I can only imagine, especially for you, going out to eat or really understanding like what that cross contamination is and that trial and error that it was probably more difficult for you than it would be, I know, than it was for me in this particular issue.
Yeah, I think I always say that I'm very grateful for the gluten-free fad for all of the increased options, but
Yeah.
not for the skepticism that
Yeah.
we actually need to eat gluten-free. So it's definitely, pros and cons.
Yeah. Now, with gluten-free foods, what was the most surprising food for you that had gluten in it that you wouldn't have expected?
I think still Milky Way bars, that was the first thing I got glutened on. My first Halloween was
It
celiac.
really
I
is
was
so
like, "I'm
weird.
doing
Like,
so
why?
good." And
Mhm,
then, yeah, ate one and then was like, "Why do I feel sick?" And that's when I realized that malt, at least in the US, contains gluten, but not wheat.
mhm.
And in the US, gluten is not a top allergen, only wheat is. So I think that was really the first big, "Oh my gosh," like, I have to double check for other stuff, even if it doesn't
Mhm.
say contains wheat. Same
Yep.
with, like, the first vacation I went on with my boyfriend. I literally came within, like, a second of glutening myself because he had gotten Smirnoff Pink Ice for the first
Ooh.
time since he
Yep.
used to drink it, and I had never drunk it before, so I was about to take a sip and then saw the tiny letters on the front saying, "A hard malt beverage," and I was like, "Okay, thank
Never mind.
goodness I noticed that." So I
Yeah.
would say anything that has gluten but not wheat has definitely been one of the hardest things to navigate, at least until hopefully one day gluten becomes a top allergen in the US.
Yeah. I know for me, it was soy sauce.
I was gonna
because
say that
I
one
I
too.
loved sushi, and that was like a safe food for me with gluten and with gastroparesis. And there was a sushi place relatively close to me that I always used to go to, and like I didn't really like soy sauce all that much, but a couple times it'd be like, "Oh, let me just dip in there." It's soy sauce. Never looked at it, never
Yeah.
thought anything of it. And then all of a sudden, like one of the days, I'm like just looking at the glass bottle and it contains wheat. And I was like, what? And the one that pissed me off the most was Rice Krispies
Yeah,
because they're Rice
exactly.
Krispies.
The Rice
Like,
Krispies.
it
I
should
still
just be gluten free.
I can't tell you how many comments I still get from people saying, "Oh, cornflakes are gluten-free, Rice Krispies are gluten-free," and I'm like, "They are if you're not looking for wheat, but
Mhm.
there's malt in there. It's stated. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but it's not.
Yep,
Like,
I
it's
know.
just
I'm
not."
like, "Why? Why?" Like, this
Yeah.
this this could have been something for me, but really? But, I recently came across the, like, cinnamon, like, that's the Cocoa Pebbles or, like, Fruity Pebbles, but
Yeah.
they're cinnamon
Mhm.
pebbles now with that
Mhm.
big thing that said gluten-free on it. I'm like, "Cinnamon Rice Krispies." I had a bowl of those. Oh, they were wonderful. They just tasted
It's
like the old, like, cinnamon Rice Krispies that I really, really wanted.
It's the little things, you know? Like, a lot of people talk about, like, "Oh, like, why do we need all of these junk food alternatives?" And it's
Mhm.
because that we're not on a gluten-free diet to eat 100% healthy. We're on a
Yeah.
gluten-free diet so we don't die. We still
Yeah.
wanna enjoy our nostalgic treats and things like everyone
Absolutely.
else.
Absolutely. That always was, like, the saddest thing for me, like, going to the store. And when I'm a lot more strict now than I used to be because there were moments where I was like, "Yeah, screw it, like, I'm just gonna have it anyway." And then there were too many stomach aches, and there were too many things where I was like, I'll maybe try a little here and there, and it gives me the same stomach ache that it would give me with just food, right? Because sometimes
Yeah.
was it the gluten or was it just the fact that I ate something?
Yeah,
It's that for
exactly.
me is hard to figure out a lot of times. But when you go to eat like Kit Kats, man, I love
Oh,
Kit Kats. They're
yeah.
my favorite. I know Char
No.
has a good
Has a
alternative, but it's
decent
not the
one.
same. It's not.
Yeah.
Like, I would get bags of Kit Kats for Christmas, like, they were my favorite. So, you look at them and you're like, "Is it worth it? Like, is it worth it?" And you really have to have that conversation with yourself. Think easier for me
Exactly.
to, say, "Yeah, okay, maybe," but I know for you, that's gotta be a very difficult piece of things. Maybe you've worked through some of that, but for me, saying no to something that I really, really wanted is always really difficult.
It's really hard, and I think that's honestly the biggest reason why I started sharing so many of the new products on my page and kind of
Mhm.
shifting to focus more on new store launches, just because I think the key to enjoying life with a restricted diet is having as many choices as possible. And that's like
Absolutely.
one of the most common questions I get of like, what do I do if I want to eat gluten? I would say
Mhm.
make sure that you always have treats in your house that are gluten free. Even if
Yeah,
they aren't the healthiest, it's healthier than eating gluten if you have celiac
absolutely.
disease or,
Yeah,
another medical need to avoid it. And
yeah.
people just need to realize that food has emotional power. We don't always like to talk about it. We like to talk about it like it's just fuel. But
Mhm.
if you're avoiding the emotional power of food, you aren't really addressing all of the needs that you may need to address with celiac or
Yeah.
dietary restrictions.
Yeah, I think it's really you're right because there's so many things with that restriction. And I know, like, for a long time you mentioned pizza early on. Like, when I couldn't eat anything, I was severely malnourished at one point, literally living on ice cream because it was the only thing I could tolerate. And I was getting to a point where, like, I couldn't even tolerate that anymore. And if I smelled something, if I even got an inkling that, like, you might have had pizza like 2 days ago, it put me in such an instantly horrible mood, mindset, however you wanna look at that, because I just was so hurt that I couldn't have this thing anymore. And, similarly, I think we go through these, like, grief and acceptance, circles
Mhm.
constantly of like, all right, I get it. I can't have this. It's not the same anymore. I'll move on. I'll work with it. But then you have to like re-grieve it and re-accept it over and over and over again. And we've got great alternatives now. Like Freshetta makes a great gluten-free frozen pizza.
Mhm.
Out of
Oh,
all
they
the
do.
gluten-frees, I think theirs is probably one of the best that I've had.
The texture, so
It
good.
you wouldn't know. You absolutely wouldn't know if someone didn't tell you. You'd know it was a frozen pizza, but you wouldn't
Yeah.
know that it's gluten-free. Um, so there's some great alternatives, but, like, sometimes that real it's not the pizza you grew up with, that maybe your grandma made or that
Yeah.
you got at your favorite pizza place and you knew that that's what you remember, and it's like it's a sad thing to have to kind of re-grieve and accept that over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, what do you do if you're going out someplace, or make a mistake like we were talking about earlier, like understanding that malt is going to cause an issue because the gluten? Do you have like a tried and true kit that you go to that you carry with you to help in case you've accidentally glutened yourself? Like what would you carry with you, or maybe how do you treat that just in case besides hope for the best?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I always say, the biggest healers are just time and your
Yeah.
body adapting. So, what I really focus on is using any tools that I can to help me with my symptoms at the time.
Mhm.
Because it's like at the end of the day, you really can't do anything to quicken your healing, but you can at
Yeah.
least make yourself a little less miserable in those days or weeks or months while you're recovering. I would
Yeah.
say some of the biggest things that I always bring with me, like anytime we're traveling or anytime that I'm going somewhere where I'm like, oh, this could be a little dicey, would
Mhm.
be activated charcoal pills. I always recommend talking to your doctor about them. I know that they're
Yeah.
pretty controversial in the gluten free community. I try to use them pretty sparingly. Like if I
Mhm.
know I just bit into a crouton, maybe that's a time for me to do it, especially if I know I'm not going to be eating other foods or other meds for like the rest of the night.
Yeah.
But other things, I would say electrolytes have been a huge help for me because
Mhm.
I think one of the hardest parts is keeping food and water down depending on
Yeah.
your symptoms from
Mhm.
gluten. So I really like Go Ultima, and I think it's the Stir liquid
Okay.
electrolytes are some of my favorites just to
Mhm.
keep on hands that taste pretty good and seem to do the trick. An microwavable heating pad is a must for me. Like,
Yeah.
I literally brought it with me to Italy. Like, it's my emotional support animal because at
Yep.
least it helps kind of get things moving if you get constipation as a symptom and or
Yeah.
helps with the pain if you're having a lot of cramping.
Mhm.
And similarly, I would say lemon, ginger, and mint tea are also very helpful for helping kind of soothe your stomach symptoms, help any nausea, help any gas, any of that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
those are typically the things that I bring with me, along with like some antacids, maybe some
Mhm.
gas pills that I always keep in my purse, and just always making sure that, like, if I do get exposed, I try to tell my boyfriend right away. That way, I know that someone else is kind of looking out for me as well,
Just
since I
in
know
case.
some people with
Yeah.
celiac have also experienced, feeling dizzy or I get really bad brain
Gosh.
fog,
Yeah.
or some people get heart palpitations. Like it can be really scary, especially if you're prone to like anxiety attacks, if this is like one of your first times being glutened. So I think
Yeah.
having a friend or a partner that you can tell, just like, hey, I don't necessarily need you to do anything for me right now, but just keep an eye out on me, like maybe check in with me. Do we need to leave? Do we
Mhm.
need to change our plans for the next week? Having that kind of support is almost as helpful as just any medications in general.
Yeah, no, those are really good tips. And, again, the crossover, a lot of the things that you mentioned are what I do for myself during a gastroparesis flare, of just
Mhm.
trying to focus on, trying to stay hydrated, getting your electrolytes in to the best of your ability, and not trying to force it down and not trying to say, well,
Mhm.
I should do this just because I need something to eat. It's like you really have to let your body heal. And it can be hard to do that because even when you don't
Yeah.
feel good, you're like, "I just wanna get back to normal," but there is no real normal anymore. It's a new normal anyway.
Yeah, and I would say, like, kind of related to that, one of the biggest questions I also get a lot is, like, how do I stop beating myself up if I've let this happen? And I always try
Yeah.
to remind people that, like, self-guilting and being mad at yourself, it's not gonna fix anything. Like, it would
Yeah,
be so much better for you to really just put that emotional energy into resting. Maybe think of, like, a fun
absolutely.
Netflix date you can do with your partner. Just do a movie
Mhm.
marathon the next day because you're too tired to go to work. Come up with different strategies that can just really help you deal with the emotional and mental effects of being glutened as much as the
Mhm.
physical. Since I would
Yeah.
say, like, I also get so much worse anxiety, so much worse insomnia, all of these other so much worse depression when I'm
Yeah.
glutened. So, a big part of my learning has just been having to show more empathy for myself and realize, like,
Yeah.
okay, these next 2 weeks, I'm probably not gonna be the best form of myself. I'm probably gonna be
Yeah.
cranky. I'm probably gonna be sleep deprived. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
grouchy. It's gonna be like stomach flu meets PMSing forever. And just recognizing that, okay, these emotions I'm feeling, they aren't necessarily part of me. They're part of my
Yeah.
body responding to this inflammation. And just
Yeah.
trying to realize that, okay, I need to give myself some grace and accept that I'm not gonna be perfect, but I can do what I can to meditate, relax, and just deal with my physical symptoms.
Yeah, that guilt is very, very
It's
hard
hard.
to deal with. I think anybody who is in the chronic illness space for one thing or another, it's like you eat something that maybe you shouldn't have, or it accidentally happened, and you're like, I should have been more careful, or I shouldn't have eaten that. I know that was stupid.
Exactly.
Oh my God, how could I let this happen? It's like we're not allowing ourselves to even be in that healing environment because at least for myself, I know I feel like a burden more often than I don't. So this just kind of like said,
Mhm.
see, I told you you were a burden, or see, I told you you were a pain to deal with. And it is really hard to do that. It takes a lot of active, like mental work to
Mhm.
acknowledge that those things happened. And, staying in that headspace is not going to help you move out of it. But realizing that in the moment is not always so easy. That
It's a lot
hindsight
harder.
is 2020 is, a lot
And
easier.
honestly, like, that's also where having a supportive friend can come in handy. Because, like, the last time I was glutened, our flight was canceled, we were stranded in Texas.
Oh
I
gosh.
hadn't we'd been, like, on a 20-hour travel day already since we were coming from Italy back home,
Mhm.
and all we could get was this one restaurant in the middle of Texas at our hotel, and I was like, "This isn't the greatest situation, I don't feel super comfortable here, but it's this or a protein bar." And of course,
Yeah.
I end up finding croutons in my salad after I eat some of it. And so we go back to my room and I'm talking to my boyfriend like that was so stupid. I should have just had a bar for dinner. I shouldn't even tried. I should have trusted my gut. And as someone who doesn't have celiac, he's like, well, you didn't intentionally order croutons. Like you said,
Yeah.
allergy, you said celiac, you ordered it twice to make
Yeah.
sure that it would be crouton free. This is not your fault as much as your brain may tell you. And so I
Yeah.
think, especially as people who are constantly being told, especially by trolls or by people who don't understand that we don't deserve to eat out, that we should just live in a bubble, we should always cook our own food. It can be helpful to talk to someone who has
Yeah.
no dietary restrictions and can just give you the truth of like, you did your best. You are a
Yeah.
human with human needs who wants to eat something besides a protein bar, which is
Mhm.
valid.
Yeah,
And
'cause they're not always that
you
good.
yeah, and it's like you can only eat so many protein bars in a 24-hour period before you're just
Yeah.
like, "I can't do it
Yeah.
anymore."
Yeah, at that point, talk about being constipated. Like,
Yeah,
that's not good for for
yeah,
anybody's
exactly. I'm
success
like,
for
"I just
that
want some
many protein
fiber,
bars.
some fresh food
Yeah.
here."
Yeah. Now, you mentioned your boyfriend. Now I know that he's done some content with you. How
Yeah.
was which I love. I think I was like just scrolling earlier and I was going through and I'm like, "Oh, there is a video." And they always make me giggle. And I know that some of that is the intention behind it is to make some things lighthearted, but was he intended to be in your content with the like gluten, being the gluten person versus the gluten-free person, or it just kind of organically happened that way? Because you guys, I love the content. It's
I'm
just so good.
glad. It's kind of been a happy accident. Like when I was dating, I just did online dating and I put that I had celiac and was gluten free in all my online profiles just to
Mhm.
kind of let people know beforehand, hopefully weed
Yeah.
some people out. And he told me years after we'd been dating, I didn't even remember that. I didn't even read that part. And I'm like, okay, it worked on some people at least, not you, apparently. But
That's
he's just
amazing.
always I would say, like, he's been the biggest reason why my relationship with food has gotten so much better since my celiac diagnosis, how the reason why I was comfortable going to Italy in the first place at all. I
Mhm.
think having that support of having someone where we're gonna go to this restaurant, and if I don't feel safe, we're gonna leave. And he's not gonna be mad at that. He's not gonna
Mhm.
think I'm being dramatic. Like, knowing that someone has your back makes it so much easier to
Yeah.
really go out of your comfort zone, which I also think is key to actually enjoying life to the fullest with celiac.
Yeah.
Because, yes, you do need to stay safe, but you also need to live.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to find that boundary, but it's a lot easier if you know that, hey, I'm going to go to Chipotle and he's going to stand behind me. So at least I have this little bit of buffer between anyone who may be annoyed I'm asking for like a change of gloves.
Yeah.
So I would say like he wasn't intentionally part of my content, but the longer I've been gluten free, the harder it is for me to remember what gluten tastes like. So it's always really helpful for me to be like, oh, I think this new gluten free product is amazing.
Mhm.
And he tries it, and then I know for sure if it's actually amazing or if it's just like
Yeah.
good for gluten free. And
Yeah.
it's been fun just kind of helping show different perspectives. And I think that a lot of people who have celiac or dietary restrictions need to see more examples of supportive partners and need to see more examples of partners who see us as blessings and not as a burden because we already
Yeah.
tell ourselves the opposite enough.
Absolutely. Families too. Like I know
Mhm.
you've shared some different things there too. And some people don't, they might just not have that support system, or maybe they're afraid to talk about it, or like you mentioned before, and
Mhm.
this comes across where it's like, oh, you're just dramatic. Like I know somebody that has that, and like they have celiac, but they can eat wheat over in Italy.
Yeah,
That conversation all the time.
exactly.
I'm like, guys, that's not how it works. And I don't even deal with that. But I know that's not how it works. But some people don't understand, and it's like, no matter how many times you advocate for yourself, no matter which way you say it, it's like, all right, I don't wanna do this anymore, like, I'm tired of explaining this, so it is good to have somebody you don't have to explain it to. Like, if you just
Yeah.
shoot him that look and it's like, "Okay, I'm not good here, like, we need to leave." Like, the first time I asked someone to, like, clean, like, I think it was Jersey Mike's actually, and
Yeah, like,
I
clean
always
the
liked going
knife.
there because 'cause they're like, "Is it an allergy or a preference? Like, do you want us to
Mhm.
clean everything?" And I'm like, "Yeah, clean everything." And I watched them wipe everything down, I'm like, "This was so satisfying." No one questioned me, they didn't say
Yeah,
anything, they were just like, "Yeah, sure, that's okay, and let's clean everything," and nobody gave me a hard time, I didn't feel bad about anything, I'm like, "If only it could be that way all the time," instead of,
exactly.
"Well, I thought you could eat that." It's like, "No, no, but"
Good try. And I think, like, that's one of the biggest lessons I've kind of had to accept over these 13 years is just as a people pleaser, you have to accept that some people will never
Yeah,
understand celiac or dietary restrictions, and they never will want to. And you just kind of have to let it go at that point. Maybe you
yeah,
still want them in your life because they're an important family member or a friend, but it's also valid to not have them in your life anymore.
absolutely.
Because I think that honestly, one of the biggest gifts any parent can give to their child with dietary restrictions is the knowledge that they are worth the effort. They are
Yeah,
worth the extra work to be included and to stay safe. And I was so lucky that my parents were extremely supportive, even though I was the only one who had to go gluten free for celiac.
mhm,
And they learned everything with me since I was still living at home at that time. And
yeah,
having them as an example kind of showed me like, oh, it's not too much to ask from my friends or from my future partner that they
yeah,
love me and celiac, that they
yeah,
don't see me as a burden. And if
yeah.
they can't meet that requirement, maybe they just aren't the right fit for me.
Mhm. That's that is like that's the best advice. And it's hard too because you
Yeah.
might think you're in a situation where you're like, I really want to hang out with this person, friend, family, possible partner, and they're just not it, but you really want it, but it's just not working. And that's a conversation that we have. I think every person has that conversation
Yeah.
for one reason or another, but we find that a lot here is like, how do you explain to somebody and have them understand what this is, that this is just part of me. It's who I am. Like my husband, in the nicest way, is like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. He eats gluten, but we eat mostly gluten free. Like anything
Mhm.
that's gluten for him is his stuff that he makes for himself. And that's it. When I make dinner, because I make food the way that I can tolerate it for myself. So I make a lot of our,
Mhm.
communal meals, or all of the communal meals,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah.
I make them gluten-free. Never a complaint. Never, well, you have to make me separate, because you get gluten and I get gluten-free or anything. It's like, no, just whatever you feel like making. And all of a sudden you realize that like you could have meals that are gluten-free that like you don't notice, that it doesn't
Yeah,
matter. You can't tell.
exactly.
Pasta is so good now, you can't tell the
So
difference.
much better than it used to be.
Bread is still a little
Still hit or
iffy.
miss.
It's
Yeah,
still only, like, this big,
yeah.
but I don't think that'll
We're
ever
making
change.
progress, you know? At
It's
least
so
there's
much better
that.
than it used to be.
Oh,
I
yeah.
just how far it's come and the options that you get now, like, I know they were recent this year, but I just found and got, like, the gluten-free Cheez-Its, and they
Woo!
were the last box in the store. Like, I had been searching high and low for these for so long, and or felt so long. I know they recently have, they're new to this year, but I'm like, I look
Still,
and
yeah.
someone else in the aisle, and my husband jokingly is like, "Oh, are you looking for the gluten-free Cheez-Its too?" And the guy's like, "Actually, I am." There was 1 box left. I think I left, like, marks, like like skid marks from sneakers. I bolted and I'm like, "Well, these are mine." And I grab them off the shelf because 'cause I'm like, "It has been 13 years since I've
Yeah,
had Cheez-Its, like,
exactly.
you are not getting these Cheez-Its. You're gonna have to pry them from my cold, dead hands." Reached in, I'm like, "I think this is what a Cheez-It used to taste
Yeah,
like." It was
exactly.
almost anticlimactic, but at least they're making these options now, and for people who are
Yeah.
dairy-free too, there's a lot of
Mhm.
gluten-free and dairy-free, products, and it's just, like you said, being able to have so many choices and recipes, and I know some of the things that you've shared is, like, making, cinnamon buns out of different doughs and all these different things, and I'm just like, "Yeah, I wanna go try that now because that looked really good. I don't know if I'll tolerate it, but we're gonna try it because, it looks really good, and it's something that I haven't had in a long time."
Yeah,
And
it's that sense of
it
normalcy.
yeah, and just feeling a little bit of, like, freedom to make that choice, like, it might not work out perfectly, and for me, I have the added benefit of, like, I really might not tolerate this, but I feel like I have more options, more freedom, and more things to find to decide what is gonna work for me, and it's that trial and error has gotten easier over the years
Yes.
as more options have come up instead of, again, that 1 loaf of bread, maybe, like, 1
Yeah.
protein shake that doesn't taste like crap, 1 protein bar,
Yeah.
and maybe 1 box of pasta, and good luck out there, and it's like,
Yeah.
"What do I make with this?" And you're just eating eggs, and then all of a sudden you can't tolerate eggs anymore, or you've had
Yeah.
so many you never wanna see another dang egg for the
Yeah.
rest of life. It's it's definitely interesting, but, I think the community has gotten so much better too, and with
Oh,
people like
yeah.
you sharing everything and all the different, like, gluten-free with me type content out there or new store finds, I'm like, "Okay, who's posted what and what is going on my grocery list this year?" So you
Yeah.
guys are doing amazing, amazing work for the rest of us.
I'm glad. That's always the top goal, just to make if I can make someone's gluten-free life easier than mine was originally, that's worth it.
Do you have a favorite, like, I can't believe they made this gluten-free, product or gluten-free dupe of something that you really, really wanted, and then all of a sudden somebody made it gluten-free? Do you have anything that comes to mind of that super exciting product that you had to go find?
I think the first thing that pops to mind is probably all of the Cookie Crunch cereals. Because it's like we went from having none to now, like, 2 different brands are each making 2 different
Yeah.
flavors, and it's
Yeah.
always funny when it seems like there's a drought in the gluten-free community on a certain product,
Mhm.
and then all of a sudden, all of the brands come to the rescue. But I would say, like, my number one now that I think about it, my number one product, it's more of a restaurant meal, but
Mm.
there's a restaurant in Parker, Colorado, so, like, an hour away from Colorado Springs called
Mhm.
Indochine that has
Mm.
gluten-free crab rangoon that's, like, in a
Oh,
dedicated fryer and everything.
nice. Yeah.
And I had never even tried crab rangoon. I hadn't tried a lot of these foods since I was
Mhm.
so young when I was diagnosed, but I think that was the top thing that I've been able to introduce to my partner to since he hadn't tried crab rangoon before,
Oh,
that we
cool.
were both like, "Our life has changed. Now
Yeah.
all we need is to get, like, a frozen version
Yeah.
to actually get into stores instead of driving so far for
Yeah.
an appetizer," but it's worth it.
Yeah, I remember the first time, like, I don't like it, but my husband loves calamari, and obviously
Mm.
that's not gluten-free, and randomly came across a restaurant. I don't even know where we were, if we were traveling, and it was just like, it was gluten-free, and they had a dedicated fryer and all, and I just was like, I don't even really like this. I don't want it, but I want to get it just for, on principle. Just
Oh,
because I
yeah.
can get it, I want to get it. I mean, there's always the gluten-free charge, there's the
Yeah,
gluten-free tax that we
there
all
is,
have to
for
pay, but,
sure.
like, I don't even like this, but I just wanna order it because I never get to order anything like
Yeah,
this.
exactly. That would
Or
say
fried
yeah.
chicken. That
Oh,
one, don't
yeah.
even like fried chicken, but I'd order it if I saw it. I don't even like fried chicken,
I
but,
think that's, like yeah, the gluten-free universal experience of being like, I don't really even like this food or crave it, but because I can
Yeah,
get it safely for
yeah,
once, I have to get it, you know?
mhm. Yeah, I know, there's been a couple things like that. I know it's a chain, but I think it's the Northeast, it's the 110 Grill,
Yeah, yeah.
and the first time I went there and they were asking, I said, want a gluten-free menu and everything, and they were so great about that, and the story behind it being attached to celiac and everything and having, like, the manager brings my food over, there's a little stick in it, like, this whole section of the kitchen is, like, only for me. I'm like, "Thank you." I feel so, like, so safe, I feel good about being here, and in restaurants like that, I feel like when you say an allergy or you say, like, "This could kill me," it's not just celiac, like, my husband has allergies too, so we're a fun pair to go out to eat with, trying to find things to eat, but, some people kinda, like, roll their eyes at you, like, and they're just like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll just pick the croutons off," like, no, that's not how this works. But you go to a place like that where there's that dedication in the actual restaurant, you feel safer ordering stuff there. And,
Yeah.
the eye roll of like, are you sure you need this? Or like, let me just take this off and put a different bun on it. And it's just because that's happened
But
a
yeah.
few
Yep.
times. You
Unfortunately.
yeah, put the dressing on the salad
Yeah.
before they take it away so
Yeah.
you know you get a
Exactly.
fresh one.
You know, you didn't get the same thing, just retossed, all
Yeah,
that fun
yep,
stuff. Yeah,
yeah.
unfortunately.
It's quite a journey for people with stomach issues, it's trying to figure all those pieces out and then where you fit in the world and then trying to go through the food fears, figuring out your new normal. It's so interesting how much different issues will still align in what they go through and trying to figure things out. So, everything that you share, we really appreciated everything. And I think that it'll really help a lot of people, celiac or not. Gluten is bothersome for a lot of people like
Yeah.
myself. And, when you have people that go through something or have found ways around it and avoiding it safely and navigating those food fears and the fear of going out to eat and advocating for yourself to your friends and family. So, what you do is so much appreciated and just I thank you for chatting with me today.
Course.
It's been great to see all the new stuff coming out. So,
Yes.
my grocery bill doesn't love you very much, but
Yeah.
I do.
I know that feeling. That's every time I get something where I'm like, "I don't need this, but it's new, so I need to review it, so I have to
It
get it." Uh,
it's for work.
it's for
Yes.
research purposes.
Yes, it's the most important research purposes. So, well, thank you again for chatting, and
Of
I
course.
will make sure to share all of your, you know, Instagram handle and everything
Okay,
with our
that sounds
viewers
great.
because I know that there are some people that are going to benefit from it. So, thank you.
Thank you.